putting primary free education in place is something even the poorest country should be able to do if you get your budgetary priorities right.
So why is that not
So
happening?
there's no excuse for that.
Why is it not happening? If no excuse?
It's a question of political will, and that's what it's all about.
Surely the government doesn't have to be told by a bunch of bureaucrats in New York to educate its children.
No, they should be told by their own people.
I haven't up to now met any minister or president that doesn't believe that providing education for all is extremely important.
But some of them don't do it.
And that's because they lack financial resources, and that's because they lack the capacity.
But isn't it sometimes just they can't be bothered? It's not a political priority. Rather spend the money on defence.
Yeah. Yes, some leaders are not sufficiently committed. And there's no other way than putting hard pressure on them. And also
so the MDGs may have to come with pressure as well as pleas.
Of course, of course. And we're doing that.
In war-torn Afghanistan, young girls are now returning to school after the fall of the Taliban. Empowering women is increasingly seen as crucial for development. It's Millennium Development Goal number 3. Many women aren't waiting to be liberated from oppression, abuse and gender bias. In Luwak in Kenya, a Catholic church shelters 50 widows who have rebelled against the tradition of wife inheritance. Wife inheritance means the widows of dead men being passed on to male relatives, often along with the virus that causes AIDS. In Nepal, Life visits Sita, determined to help women protect themselves against AIDS. And in Bangladesh, Shati, a young photographer, campaigns for other girls to follow her example, to stay at school, join a profession, and resist being married off too young.
I'm taking pictures and I'm going to many places. Now lots of people know me as Shati the photographer.
To educate girls and educate women is the best investment in purely economic terms that one can do in any poor country. And the reason basically is, one, birth control. Educated women and girls get fewer children. Second, taking care of their family's health and their own health benefits the economy. Thirdly, they actually do send their girls to school. Men that are educated don't only do that, and their kids to school, all of their children. And fourthly, they can be participants in the economy to a much larger extent as being educated.
But few young women in Bangladesh become photographers. Most become mothers, many too soon and too young. Maternal mortality, mothers dying in pregnancy and childbirth, is one of the few development indicators that hasn't improved over the last few decades.
While a lot has been done on so many fronts, but maternal mortality has not budged. The rights of women have not been addressed. They're not educated, informed about their own health and, reproductive matters.
MDG 4 aims to cut child mortality by 2/3, and 5 to reduce maternal mortality by 3/4. But critics say the MDGs have been deliberately weakened by some of the politicians and bureaucrats who drew them up. They don't mention the term reproductive rights, agreed at the 1994 Cairo International Conference on Population and Development. Some conservative groups claim such language could promote abortion.
The Millennium Development Goals would have been enormously helpful for reducing maternal mortality and doing something really, solid about maternal mortality if they had included the right indicators and the right targets. I think that we could have made a difference, but because of the political accommodations, the indicators and the targets don't mention reproductive health and rights anywhere. They are just not included.
Nafis Sadiq is right. These 8 goals are the outcome of international negotiations, and indeed the Cairo targets on reproductive health have been dropped. But in the real world, many developing countries are incorporating again in their national Millennium Development Goal reports the issues of reproductive health, either under the maternal health, Goal 4, or under Goal 3 on gender equity. So in the real world, these issues are still very much on the agenda.
In Zambia, life tells the story of a hospice for people with AIDS, the worst global health disaster ever. Of course, it's not just AIDS that's a disease of mass destruction in the poorer world. There's malaria and TB. MDG 6 aims to tackle them all.